Okay, this is better. Um, Sorry. Okay, welcome to games that I worked on. Possibly the first in a series. This is, for those who don't know me, I used to be, my name's Dave first. Alright, that's... I've got some weird, confusing cross stuff going on because I've got the stream running live on a tablet next to me and my headphones on for checking sound and video quality. But anyway, so my name is Dave. I used to be a QA tester at THQ, where I worked on almost entirely Xbox 360 games because I worked on the Xbox 360 Xbox Live compliance team. And I decided just the other day, because I no longer work at THQ, and in fact no longer working in the game industry right now at all, and I kind of want to go through and just kind of do a retrospective of games that I worked on. At least the ones of those games that I worked on that have gone on, made it to PC, and that I actually have on PC. So I'm starting with Red Faction Guerrilla, because it is probably the second favorite game that I've ever worked on. I mean, it is a really good, severely underrated to a degree. PC version unfortunately was crippled by the decision to use games for Windows Live, which hurt, it prevented multiplayer adoption, it slowed down numerous complaints of performance complaints due to games for Windows Live, everything else, and kind of ended up just killing it dead. It never really got, well, and not quite dead. It did fairly well, did better on 360. Stats were actually pretty good. It had, and the franchise itself was killed dead by Red Faction Armageddon, and I'll talk more about that later in some later parts. But Guerrilla was a great game. I loved working with Volition. And so, here we go. I'm going to start. Brand new game. I was playing through recently-ish and kind of stopped, so overwrite that. And I'm going to go on Insane Difficulty. Doing Insane Difficulty because I remember back in the day when Rock Paper Shotgun initially reviewed the game, Quentin Smith said that he thought it was impossible to finish the game on hard. And so I'm going all the way to Insane. I'll be shut up now for the duration of the cutscene.
For your safety, follow all instructions issued by GTIWO personnel.
Mining engineer. Demolitions Class C. Report to Parker Sector.
The EDF, bridging Earth
Fun ride?
to Mars. For your safety,
Yeah,
follow all
the blast.
instructions issued by EDF personnel.
How's Mom? She misses you.
The EDF, bridging Earth.
Sorry I missed Dad's funeral. Things here have been hard.
No one expected you to come halfway across the system. What the hell was that?
Well, the EDF. They own the road and everything else. Forget the propaganda. Free Mars is over.
Action? Didn't enough people die the last time?
We're under martial law here. Prison camps, torture, death squads. People need something to believe in. Well, this is it. I've got your gear over there. So here's how it works. It'll be a couple of weeks before you... wait here. saying. The sooner we get to work, the sooner we get paid. Come on. Here's the site I was telling you about. It was a research outpost once, before the Marauders killed the scientists.
Marauders?
You don't want to be caught out here after dark, but it's a good place to find salvage.
I'm here to mine, not hunt for scrap.
On Mars, scrap is like gold. Got your sledgehammer and charges? Good. Let's see what you can do. Shit. Up in the sky. EDF gunship. Didn't think they'd be out here today. I'll keep an eye on it. You get the salvage.
Okay. One of the things that I kind of love about that opening cutscene is that it kind of makes Mason seem like the stupidest person in the world. Because it's like, as he's being processed coming into Mars, there's that huge wanted picture of Samanya, and then he sees her later on, like, at the end of the cutscene. He's like, hey, she looks weirdly familiar. And his brother's like, no, she doesn't. You're an idiot. And he's like, oh, okay. But yeah, and despite other things, I mean, despite the problems of the PC version, they did, I mean, it was much better put together than the Saints Row 2 PC version, and I'll probably do a Saints Row 2 stream sometime in the future. I'm also having some weird graphical issues that I assume are because I'm streaming, and that's running my computer, doing some stuff on it. But obviously everybody, the destruction engine was really the thing about Guerrilla, and it's a really ingenious thing, and I'm still kind of surprised that nobody's done quite this. That's weird. Alright, nobody's done quite the same level of stuff with it. I mean, even Frostbite 3 with its much vaunted destruction setup is still using a lot of just predefined animation stuff. It's not truly dynamic like Red Faction is. I mean, whole thing, they have this whole setup with the materials system basically breaks everything. As you can sort of see, each sort of brush for the static meshes kind of breaks down into these individual blocks, and those blocks kind of self-reinforce, so it kind of, as you remove blocks, the number of linkages gets reduced, and that eventually sort of hits this critical mass where there's not enough linkages to hold the structure together, and it completely falls apart. And there are better ways to show that, and once I get a Gauss rifle, then I can shoot out blocks individually.
Use your charges and take down that big structure right there.
That'll work better.
Right now you can set 2 charges before you detonate them. Remember, you can swap weapons and still use the detonator. Come back to me if you run out of charges.
And of course, I mean, this was the thing that I'm working on at the moment. Jesus Christ, shut up, Dan.
What the hell is going on? Who's the girl?
You know what's going on. Alec, the Red Faction could really use a guy like you.
To do what? What are you people doing out here?
Whatever it takes.
I'm not a terrorist, Dan.
I never used to have that graphical problem. I assume something going on with my drivers.
We need help.
Hey, you got me into enough trouble Earthside. I just want to do honest work here.
That's what we're fighting for. If we don't resist, they'll take everything.
Enough!
You'll see I'm right about this.
Alright. So anyway, as I was saying before, I got interrupted by the conversation. Jesus Christ, that is... 1 second, I'm going to try to change the graphical settings, see if that maybe gets rid of that, because that is extraordinarily annoying. Right. I don't know if I'm actually going to be able to help it. Shaft of false. Oh, I like the sun shaft. Yeah, no, something's up. Okay, I'm gonna have to ignore that because, or just live with it. It's one. Okay. Nope. Alright. I've never had this problem before. Yeah, we'll get started out later. Okay. But anyway, back to talking about the actual game instead of my weird graphical bugs. It's weird that it's exactly opposite of the sun, so... But anyway, yeah, the moment, like, testing it, when the game first came into test, the moment that completely sold me on it was this. Oh no, that may be not broken right. I guess it didn't. Alright, here we go. Oh, it fell wrong. God damn it. Did break it slightly wrong. Because usually the tower's supposed to fall over and crush the other building, and usually that works. I'm very disappointed that that didn't. Because I did too much damage to the inside and it kind of snapped. But yeah, it was like, when that happened, like, the first time, like, I saw the two buildings like that, and I dropped the tower on top of the other building, and I was like, oh my god, this is the greatest game in ever. And then, like, about 6 weeks later, there was some weird change made to the architecture, or something with the collision on the internal structure, and the tower, no matter how you blew it up, the tower would just fall straight down in on itself. And I was angry about that for weeks and weeks and weeks until they finally sorted it out again. That became even more of a problem than the smokestacks later, which again I will show when I get there. But yeah, the actual, like, destruction. I'm playing with mouse and keyboard, and I'd like to be able to play with controller, but one of the weird issues with this PC port is that they got the mouse and keyboard really well, but the if you plug in a controller, it doesn't go to the straight-up Xbox 360 controls, so it controls worse with the controller than with the mouse and keyboard, which is bizarre. But yeah, but with the controller, it's like when a structure is one of the later things, like playing and blowing this building up, is that there would be a point where it's still standing, but it's on the verge of falling over, and it's actually like the stresses just from the weight of the different things, because, like, as I said before, like the way that the blocks are set up, it's like the blocks have weight, and they also have the linkages. So it's like when the weight of the blocks exceeds the linkages, it collapses. You can sort of see the green screen shuddering a little bit right now, because this building is really broken, but not quite completely broken enough. But it was one of those, the early things was having it done a lot of damage, and it was like really precariously kind of standing there. And I was like, that's gotta be blowing up soon, and it was shaking, and the controller vibrates when that shaking happens, and like, that doesn't make any sense. And then I walked into the building to like try to figure out what else to blow up, and then it collapsed in on me. And it wasn't really anything, it wasn't like my weight made it fall down, because I mean, because I don't believe in destruction. Oh, here we go. Boom. Yeah, kind of like that. But I was on the ground floor, and I got squashed. Thankfully they got God mode on, because this is a freaking tutorial. Yeah. And I would kill for a first-person mod for this, because I found Volition's reasoning for going third-person on this one to be a little specious. At the very least questionable, because their whole thing was that I guess they tested it on their end, and they did it with first person, and people didn't look around and kept getting squashed by buildings, and apparently that happened less with third person, and maybe I am unique in this sense, but when I'm playing a game with a first-person shooter, I tend to be looking up and around and in different directions a lot more than with a third-person shooter, where I feel like the camera is kind of drawn down so that I can see the ground. But that was the thing that they did. And then, other destruction things, like obviously the different materials have different shapes and sizes for the way that the blocks break down, so that gives them their different strengths. And then of course there are the more solid, indestructible, or less destructible, like weight-bearing structural members. But yeah, once something breaks free of its foundations, then it pretty much, it just crumbles into paper, which is cool, but I think could be better. That is so bothering me so much. There's gotta be a driver issue. There's not, maybe when for part 2, I'll do some sorting out with my drivers, and that'll hopefully fix it. Gotta be like something with catalyst to an eye is not on or something. Or it could just be the fucking open broadcast software is messing with the renderer some way. Oh hey, this one didn't crumble like paper. If this allows me to demonstrate that the player's weight doesn't actually do anything, because otherwise this would be like a giant hamster wheel, which would be awesome. But yeah, I'm gonna blow up these things and finish getting scrap, and then I'm gonna go talk to Dan. And that's gonna go to a cutscene, which will segue me into something else. Rocking these to bits. Okay, I think that's good enough. Oop. What the hell? You all. Yeah, funny. Well, I'll get into that later. There's a funny thing about perception of this game and marketing and everything else that will be an interesting story to tell later. And here comes the cutscene.